Many of us know that this little X standing right next to me represents the place we are now at, in Rotterdam, at the Erasmus University College, sharing ideas. But did you know that TED is an acronym for technology, education, and design? Design is what I want to talk about today. As a designer, I believe it can help us transform the ordinary to create meaningful change. But before I go into it, I'm going to take you to an ordinary Sunday morning. I lay in bed, hoping for another hour of sleep because my husband had woken up early that day. Suddenly, I heard something fall, like a book or something heavy. I waited to hear his footsteps, but instead, I heard my name. And he would never call my name to wake me up. Sensing something was off, I ran downstairs, and I found him lying on the floor, unable to talk or move. My loving, wonderful husband had just suffered a massive stroke, and in that moment, our lives were forever changed. Everything shifted. It is Albert Einstein that said, "Nothing happens until something moves." I didn't quite grasp how profound this is until then. And here's where design comes in. You know, life is always moving, it's continuously messy and complicated, and as designers, when this happens, we're confronted with a challenge, a problem, something that no longer works, even a client project. We ask ourselves, what is possible? What is relevant? What is revolutionary? And what is preferable? These questions are essential in design, as they are in life. You might wonder, what has design to do with all of this messiness in life? Well, I think everything. My favorite definition of design comes from a chap called Herbert Simon. He was the dean of the Carnegie Mellon School of Design. And he famously said that to design is to transform existing conditions into preferred ones. Not just different, but preferred. And you know, when we work in design, what I love the most about my profession is this capacity to transform. This capacity to go all in, to ask questions, to explore, to put things into action, to experiment, to learn as we go, and always, always aim to create something that is preferable. And in life, this is more or less easy to do when things are going well, because we can see the potential beyond where we are now, especially when we're feeling aligned with our values and the things that matter to us. But there's change in life, and change has this capacity to pull us back and confront us with the unexpected, the unexplored, even the unquestioned. Like when we feel totally lost because we're in a completely new situation and we don't quite know what to think or do or how to behave. Or those times when life throws us curveballs and we feel overwhelmed, kind of stuck in midair, really not knowing what to do next, frozen in place. And then, of course, there's culture. I mean, culture tells us to not even bother questioning what meaning is all about because it gives it to us ready-made. It's bombarding us, dictating us with social media and memes and trends, telling us what we must do, what we must have, who we must become, how we must conform. But there is no must in design. The question is how. How do we transform existing conditions into preferred ones? And the word transformation is already cluing us into that. It's telling us trans, meaning to go across or beyond, and form, the shapes and the rules and the systems and structures that we live in. To transform is to go beyond what we know, to go beyond those structures. But how might we do it in a culture that is bombarding us continuously in this change that is ever present in life? Well, transformation is what we do about that. It's what we do about circumstances. It's about the choices that we make. And to do that, we need to feel. We need to go all in, feel our heart's intent, our longing, the things that truly matter to us, knowing that with every turn of the road, we can make a new choice, because choices that are made by design are ultimately always choices of alignment, aligning with that which is important, which is meaningful to us. Because the place where we do that is the now. In the now, we become connectors, and every present moment offers us an opportunity to design. In the now, there is a threshold of possibility, a portal, waiting for us to engage with this. And when we are able to do this, we can become connectors. We come to understand that the now is the beginning of the rest of our lives, and that every time we go in there, we can connect with potential, now, and now, and now. Because when we do, we give form to the next, and the next, and the next. You see, it is us that are the connectors between what is and what could be, between the past and the potential, between the existing conditions and the preferred ones. My family and I were flung into the threshold of the present moment on that Sunday morning. That place where past is gone and potential is still emerging, and you're kind of in transition, not knowing what to do. At some point, we dared to step into the now and look at what was happening. And what we found there is a sense of agency, this capacity to let meaning emerge through us, even in the most ordinary things, perhaps especially in the ordinary things. So let me say it again, nothing happens until something moves. You see, meaning doesn't just occur, it needs us to transform, because when we connect to our heart's intent, we can connect the ordinary by creating something extraordinary. And life, it's so special, isn't it? It's always offering us moments in the now. Actually, life is like a succession of nows, leading us to potential when we dare to connect with it. And I think it's all incredibly beautiful, incredibly weird and wonderful. To me, it looks like a slinky. You may remember the slinky. When we were kids, we used to play with these. And some people call it the magic spiral. I think that's quite a wonderful name, because the slinky is like life. It's opening up, unfolding, coil by coil, moment by moment, now by now, giving form to the next. And when we dare to be present, it is us that can realign and reorient. Because while nobody knows what will happen in life, no one does, of course not, it is us that can create meaning by reorienting and choosing to keep moving. You know, design can't change the past, but it can certainly transform the future. This is a paradox for me, because I'm a designer, and in my life, when everything was in so much movement, I came to realize that the more intentional I became, the more aligned things became in my life through my doing, just like in design. And the funny thing is that I've got language for this. I even know how to do it, you know? Creativity, reframing, unconventional thinking, being focused and present. These design skills are as magical as the magic spiral. So I'm going to share them with you one by one, because these 4 skills, when they work together, they exponentiate. They propagate our intentional energy, allowing us to create a meaningful difference. And as I do, I'm going to spice them up a little bit through my personal experience to show you their simple, everyday power. First, design is inherently creative. Creativity is our ability to come up with original ideas. And she never comes alone. Tagging along are opportunity, serendipity, and possibility. You know, when we engage creatively, it's because we let go of what no longer serves us and are able to connect with our true selves. Something that took very long in my personal life. I grew up in a household of scientists, and we were taught to value responsibility above play. So for a long time in my life, I did exactly as I was told, which meant that I focused in my career. And one day, I found myself walking up to my mother, handing her my business card and telling her, keep this, because from now on, I am going to follow my heart. And I did this because I sensed there was a potential worth exploring, that it was worth going through the portal of the now. And when I did, I started writing books, collaborating with design schools, and working with incredibly creative people on amazing projects. Because I dared to bring my full self into my work, my extraordinary self. And as I did, everyone else was invited to do that too. The second magical skill is reframing. And it's about looking at challenges as if they were opportunities. You can't solve a problem from the level of thinking that caused the problem in the first place. So you need a different frame. And when you use it, it opens up new perspectives where you can bring in your imagination and create things that are uniquely relevant. For me, what happened in life was becoming a mum. As a young mum, I felt inundated by all of these ideas of what it was to be a perfect parent. But I reframed parenthood. I decided I didn't need to become the best mother in the world just then and there. I just needed to align every next choice, every act of kindness, every moment of caring to the mother I wanted to become in the future, knowing that every small moment would add to a momentum that would shape my children's lives. And this is why at home we chose every opportunity as a way to reframe who they would become, helping them to become people connected to their thoughts and feelings so that one day this would help them make sense of the world. And this is why we did simple things like telling them to put a rainbow on their plate so that they would eat their fruits and vegetables, something they still do to this day, and hanging a mirror at their height in our home so that they could look into their own eyes and whisper words of confidence when they needed them. Number 3, design excels at creating unconventional solutions because design thrives in uncertainty. And when we dare to do things differently, we can make a difference. Here's an unconventional idea. I think that transformation starts at the end. Not like everything else that starts at the beginning. Transformation starts at the end of what we know. It's like at that point where the slinky starts moving. It tips over this moment in which it can see that there is something in the unknown that is worth playing with, that is worth discovering, that is worth asking revolutionary questions about so that we can come up with revolutionary ideas. When we do that, we awaken a sense of wonder. Because did you know that the Latin word cura gives origin to curiosity, but also cure and care as words? These words are interrelated because when we're curious, we pay attention, because we care, because there's something that awakens our sense of wonder. Which is why I, having grown up in Argentina, moved to the Netherlands halfway through my life. I always was curious about what was outside of the conventional path. And if I had stayed with what I knew, I would never have made that choice. But curiosity won from certainty, and here I am. And it wasn't just me. Before me, my grandmother used curiosity out of despair because she was born into poverty, so much so that she was married off at 14 for her upkeep. And when she started having children, she cared so much about their life circumstances that she moved away from the remote village where they were at to the city to create a better life for them and all of us who came after them. And we are forever grateful for that choice because it changed our lives, the design of our lives. The fourth magical design skill is presence. It's so important because designers work with what is so that we can change it into what is preferable. And when we are present, we can course correct. We can look at things with fresh new eyes. And sometimes what we find in the present moment is not what we would like to. Sometimes we find the shattered pieces of what was. Like that Sunday morning when I found my husband lying on the floor. Those are the moments to go all in, to bring your whole heart, to connect with the energy of new beginnings, to see how those bits and pieces can form new possibilities, new ways to connect with life ahead, knowing that as we make those small choices by design, We create a mosaic, we create a beautiful pattern that eventually becomes the intricate design of our lives. These days, my husband, who's right here, is feeling much better. It was a long road to recovery. We have learned that meaning emerges in simplicity, in how and why we do things, in how we show up for ourselves and for each other. And we live our lives fully connected in the now, and the now, and the now. Because if there's one thing we know, is that meaning is continuously emerging, continuously offering us possibilities to design. It emerges in the beauty, in the awe, in our resilience, in our gratitude, in our vital need to love and to connect, but also in our vulnerability, in our grief, in our anger, and in our sense of insignificance, because all of it is transformational. All of it offers us opportunities to design what is possible, what is relevant, what is revolutionary, and what is preferable every single time that we bring creativity, reframing, unconventional thinking, and presence into the now. So let me leave you with this. In that magical, incredible moment where the now meets potential, meaning comes alive through us. Together, collectively, through the threshold of the now, we can transform the ordinary into something extraordinary and meaningful by design. Thank you.